Carl travels to the Marvel world and carries a check.in system with him. After signing in for 25 years, I finally gained strong strength. Silver Superman template. The power of Superman during the Silver Age was much stronger than that of a normal Superman. Time travel, eating kryptonite raw, blowing out stars just as he was flying out of the blue star for the first time and observing the sun. Ding! The Dimensional Chat Group invites you to join. Main characters. Carl, Skye. Keywords of the novel. Marvel. I Silver Superman, join chat group without pop-ups, Marvel. I Silver Superman, join chat group. Download the complete text. Marvel. I Silver Superman, join chat group. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Sign in 25 years, Silver Superman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dear Carl. I'm very interested in your bar in Queens, maybe $1 million is a good price. In 3 days, I will take someone to the bar to discuss relevant matters with you. I believe you won't refuse me, after all, you don't want any accidents to happen, do you? New York City, Queen Street. It was already late at night, but under the dazzling neon lights, the city was even more dazzling than the day. In a magnificent apartment. Carl was sitting on the sofa at this moment, gripping the letter tightly with his right hand and squeezing it into a ball. Unexpectedly encountering such a thing that threatens me. Throwing away the letter, he picked up the exquisite tall cup. After taking a sip of the fine wine and looking at the exquisite and beautiful neon lights outside the window, Carl sighed softly. It's really a beautiful scenery. 24 years ago, Carl came to this world. As he grew older, he learned that his city was called New York City. Originally, Carl thought he had only come to a city on the other side of the ocean. Until he saw the Steve Rogers Memorial. That is the Captain of the United States. If you have a little understanding of Marvel, you will know where this place is. This is an extremely dangerous world. Aliens, superheroes, supervillains, there are many powerful beings here, even the gods from ancient legends exist. Of course, this world is also very interesting. After all, Marvel World has a variety of superheroes. Along with Carl, there is also a check.in system. This is considered standard equipment. However, his check.in system is different from that in previous life novels. Carl's check.in system not only allows for daily check.in at various locations. He can even accumulate attendance. Book a check.in time in advance, such as 1 or 2 years. Then, upon arrival at the scheduled time, the check.in will be completed. The longer the check.in time, the stronger the reward received. After 2 consecutive days of checking in with only powdered milk, Carl made a decision that he regretted a bit. Sign up in New York City for 25 years. So far, Carl has been signing at Newcastle for 24 years. As a result, he is still an ordinary person now. Well, a handsome and golden ordinary person with black hair and black eyes. Since coming into this world, Carl has been adopted by a single wealthy businessman who is over 50 years old. Carl Smith. This is the name that the old man gave him. Although it may seem strange for an Easterner to use such a name. But Karnan has always used this name for the kindness of the other party's upbringing. A few years ago, that kind old man passed away. Billions of dollars worth of property have already been transferred to Carl's name through legitimate channels by the old man. There are some properties and 2 bars among them. There is also the old man's own company and several company shares. It is worth mentioning that after learning that this was Marvel World, Carl spent several years organizing his assets. First, sell your own company, and then sell most of the shares in other companies. This operation earned him a large sum of cash. Afterwards, Carl invested in some companies, such as Stark Industries, Hammer Industries, PIM Technologies, and Ashi Group. They are the companies of Iron Man Villains, the first-generation Ant-Man, and the first-generation Green Devil. After all, he only knows about these companies, because when he saw Marvel in his past life, he vaguely remembered. Due to this operation, Carl's assets have increased tenfold in a few years. Now there are assets worth billions of dollars. The letter he threw into the trash can appeared in his bar at an unknown time. The signer is Wilson Grant Fist. This name looks confusing. But he has a flower name, Gene He. Carl knows this character. He is a supervillain, known as the Underground Emperor of the United States, with a very powerful appearance. Maybe some people haven't heard of him. But this opponent is quite famous. The most famous of them is Spider-Man, a good citizen of Queens. There are also Night Demon, Punisher, and even X-Men and Magical for who are his enemies. Because there are many underground businesses, it can be said that they are in hostile relationships with many superheroes. I don't know what's going on lately, but I fell in love with Carl's bar and wanted to own it. To be honest, Carl is just an ordinary person now. Although I have practiced combat skills from childhood to adulthood. If we really want to fight, it's not that Gene is not an opponent. But it's a bit unpleasant when the other party forcefully buys and sells a bar they don't want to sell. Originally, Carl sold his own company and other company shares, but did not sell his 2 bars. The purpose is naturally not to sell, and by the way, I can also have a drink if I have nothing to do. Did you give me a strong buy and sell strategy? Actually, Carl is not very afraid either. He has already found Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, at Midtown High School. However, the other party is still an ordinary person and has not been bitten by a mutated spider yet. Carl has been keeping an eye on Peter Parker's movements, preparing to take the lead and take away the mutated spider. Although Spider-Man is a hero he has a good impression of, at such times, he can only say sorry. Originally, Carl was not in a hurry about the mutated spider. Just as a backup measure. But now, suddenly there is Gene and this villain. Mutant spiders can't be counted on anymore. It seems that one still needs to expect their own system. Carl looked up at the clock. 11:55. In just 5 minutes, it's time for me to sign in. After 25 years of signing in, Carl finally received the reward. He is looking forward to this reward very much. If a system that has been signed in for 25 years still doesn't produce anything good, then Carlson can simply transfer the bar business out. It's not a big deal to spend money hiring supervillains, assassinating Gene Jia, or wait until you have the ability to seek revenge in the future. Carl picked up his glass and waited quietly. Ding! The host has signed in for 25 years. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Silver Superman template. Silver Superman. Upon hearing the mechanical sounds in his mind, Carl trembled slightly. Silver Superman. The reward he received after signing in for 25 years did not disappoint him. As a traveler, Carl naturally knows what kind of existence this is. Silver Superman is a superhero in the DC Silver Age. During this period, Superman was much stronger than ordinary Superman. Its abilities include sneezing to destroy stars, moving a bunch of planets, absorbing magic, eating raw kryptonite, blowing out the sun, time and space travel. Of course, in movies and comics, the abilities of Superman are also possessed by Silver Superman. The Superman of the Silver Age may not be the strongest Superman, but he is the most promising Superman. Because he represents no upper limit. Perhaps in battle, a new ability can be added. With this check.in reward, Carl doesn't need to steal Spider-Man's mutated spider. No need. Mutant spiders, still left for Peter Parker. With such ability, what is Carl worried about? Just waiting for the other party to come and die. Chapter 2. The Gods of the World, join chat groups. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gold is not very strong. It is said that over 90% of the body is made up of muscles. Amazing strength, capable of piercing walls with bare hands, and a world-class combat expert. It is said that he possesses the highest level of human combat power. By the way, in his past life, Carl saw many netizens and thought that Jean could even defeat the captain of the United States. As for authenticity, Carl doesn't know. However strong Jean may be, he is just an ordinary person. If you were to confront Carl now, you could explode with just one punch. At this moment, Carl felt that his body had changed. He used to exercise year-round and with good muscles, his figure has improved. Her appearance has also become more handsome. The body has mastered a lot of strength. Super speed, his flying speed surpasses the speed of light, able to cross the time barrier and return to the past. Super listening, can hear anything and anywhere. The body of steel completely ignores any physical attacks and remains unscathed in black holes. Even in the initial Big Bang, they were able to survive. Hot vision, super recovery, super strength, frozen breath, and because he obtained templates, he can easily and flexibly apply them. Pushing open his own window, Carl jumped out directly. Then, he flew in the air in a way that violated common physics knowledge. With a whoosh, it turned into a black shadow and disappeared instantly. Almost at the same time, Carl appeared in the universe. Behind him is a floating blue planet. And directly ahead, 100 million kilometers away, is a burning massive star. Sun supervision enabled him to instantly perceive everything on the sun. Under the sunshine, Carl's power is constantly increasing. Although Silver Superman's power does not come from the yellow sun, he is not afraid of the red sun. But Carl himself does have a feeling of absorbing solar radiation and enhancing his strength. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Ding! Dimensional Chat Group invites you to join, do you agree? Dimensional Chat Group. Carl was slightly surprised. As a traveler, he naturally knows about chat groups. After all, he has also read some online articles in his past life. In layman's terms, this is the ability to connect chat groups of different dimensions. It can allow characters from all over the world to chat and communicate, and even travel through the world. If the chat group is interesting, then join and take a look. As he spoke, Carl nodded and said, I agree to join. As his words fell, a virtual interface appeared in his mind. Ding! The God of the world, join the chat group. Ding! Princess Qianshou, join the chat group. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Oh, has a new person arrived. Welcome newcomers. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Welcome. JPG Tianjian Wang. Finally, a newcomer has arrived. Welcome. These people. Looking at the names in the chat group, Carl frowned slightly. They are all very familiar. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. The term, Great Wall Guard, comes from the world of kings. Is the commander Mulan? After all, when playing games in his past life, Carl vaguely remembered that he seemed to be the leader of the Great Wall Guard. If it were the Heavenly Blade King, it would most likely be the Angel King of the Superdivine World, Caesar. The 1,000-armed princess who joined the group at the same time as herself is probably the master of the Fire Shadow World. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? When he saw the word Zhong Bing, he instantly remembered watching an animation in his past life. Even if you have a second illness, you should fall in love. However, the second disease has also appeared in other works. There is limited information and cannot be determined. Princess Qianshou. What is this? What is this? Princess Qianshou. Suddenly appearing in her mind, is it some kind of illusion? Are you people from Uchiha? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Don't panic, let me explain it to you. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? This is a chat group that connects different worlds, where members can communicate with each other in different dimensions. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? As long as you imagine what you want to say in your mind, this group will organize your thoughts into words to send. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? The purpose of the chat group seems to be to hope that members can help each other. Ding. What to do if the younger sister of the group member is suffering from a secondary illness? Solve the confusion for the 2 new members and reward them with 200 points. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? So, there's still a point reward like this. I made a profit. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Hahaha, I got 200 points, it's great. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I don't know how many ingredients I can buy now. The chat group is really great. Tianjian. Envy. JPG Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Are there rewards here? If only I had known earlier. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. However, is it a pity to use such precious points on ingredients? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I have already changed all the money, and 1 point is worth more than 10,000 yuan. Who made those high-end ingredients so expensive? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Anyway, I don't need to strengthen my body, as this is just an ordinary world. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. That's right. Princess Qianshou. Princess Qianshou. So. What is this point? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Points are rewards in chat groups and you can purchase items in the store. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Look at the store in the upper right corner. Including treating injuries, strengthening the body, exchanging money, and various abilities. What should my younger sister do if she has a secondary illness? She can sign in every day and earn square points. By the way, it seems that explaining chat group rules to newcomers is also possible. Princess Qianshou. Princess Qianshou. May I ask how to sign in? Although she remained puzzled about this so-called chat group, she still casually asked a question. Tianjian. Just click on the sign in button next to the store in the upper right corner to sign in. Princess Qianshou. Thank you. Ding. The group member Princess Qianshou has successfully signed in and earned 8 points. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Wow. Surprisingly obtained 8 points, it's great luck. Heavenly Blade King. Lucky enough, I only have a maximum of 7 points for check that I am envious. JPG Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. I have only received a maximum of 5 points for check that I am. Heavenly Blade King. What about another newcomer? Stop diving and come out to chat at the God of the Human World, Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Maybe they have something urgent to attend to. Tianjian. Okay, that makes sense. Ding. Group members are the gods of the human world, successfully signed in, and earned 10 points. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Commander of the Great Wall Guard. I'm surprised to receive so many points for check that I am. Heavenly Blade King. JPG God of the World. Smile.jpg What should I do if my younger sister is suffering from a secondary illness? What kind of ghost? This luck is too good, isn't it, Emperor O? Originally, everyone was very envious of the points earned by Princess Qianshou's check that I am. There are actually more people coming now. Carl didn't speak either, quietly peeking at the screen. By the way, I clicked on the store interface. A store is an interface that resembles a certain treasure. There are many areas in it, including life, skills, weapons, and props. There are some daily necessities in the living area, as well as functions for repairing injuries and exchanging money. 1 point can be exchanged for $100 in money. As for the one just now, what should my younger sister do if she has a secondary illness? 1 point can exchange for more than 10,000 yuan, which should be the money of Neon Country. Repairing injuries starts at 100 points, depending on the specific situation. After a rough glance, there is really everything. Infinite Gem, Sharingan, Steel War Suit, Gundam, Reincarnation Eye, Devil Fruit, even the Divine Light Stick has it. However, the more powerful the thing, the higher the selling price. For example, the Sharingan can be purchased with just a few hundred points. But for the Kaleidoscope Will Eye, it requires 100,000 points. However, all the things inside are of little use to Carl. Chapter 3. Princess Qianshou and Difficult Tasks. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Hokage World, Kiba Village. In the spacious room, there is a young girl sitting quietly at this moment. The girl has a plump and tall figure, with light yellow hair tied into a ponytail, beautiful and moving. This person is the princess of the Thousand-Armed Clan, Qianshou. At this moment, Qianshou looked at the chat group interface in his mind and murmured to himself. Is it a chat group? It doesn't seem like magic. If those things in the store are real, wouldn't I be able to use this chat group to increase strength and quickly end the war? Just then, a chaotic sound of footsteps rang out not far away. It's not good, Lord Qianshou. Qianshou frowned slightly and said, "What's wrong?" A ninja lowered his head and said, Lord Orochimaru returned to the village and said that Lord Sugiki had an accident. Upon hearing this, Qianshou's pupils dilated and he trembled as he said, "Where is the big snake Maru? Take me there quickly." Yes. Subsequently, Tsunade followed the ninja to a room. Looking at the gloomy and silent expressions of Orochimaru and Zelaya, Tsunade trembled as he walked towards the room. It's better not to look at it. Zilai also stopped Qianshou. It doesn't matter, after all, I can't recognize it as my younger brother. Orochimaru had a cold expression and threw a pendant in his hand to Tsunade. This pendant is exactly the birthday gift that Gungute gave to Qianshou the day before. She took the pendant and ran towards the room in a daze. What I saw was an extremely bloody scene. There is a pool of blood in the room. Rope tree. Qianshou grabbed the necklace and burst into tears. Why is this happening? Yesterday, Qianshou had just celebrated his birthday and even said he wanted to be the Hokage. Death cannot bring rebirth. On the side, Zilai also comforted in a low voice. Rebirth. At this moment, Qianshou remembered the chat group he had just joined, and a glimmer of hope suddenly rose in his heart. Isn't it true that the members in this bizarre chat group can achieve anything with points? So, can we revive the rope tree? The names of those people in the group are also very impressive, this god that god. Is there a way to resurrect others? Although she was in her heart, she still didn't quite believe in this chat group. But at this point, we can only give it a try. But even if those people can resurrect the rope tree, why do they help her? After all, Qianshou just joined the chat group today, and the people in the group can be called strangers. The difficulty of resurrection can be imagined. Qianshou looked at the mess in front of him and made a decision. Mind returns to the chat group interface. Princess of Qianshou family. May I ask, can chat groups revive people? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? It seems that she doesn't have this function. However, it is not ruled out that some group members can resurrect others. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. We don't have a way to resurrect here. Heavenly Blade King. Did something happen? Princess of Qianshou family. I just received news that my younger brother has died in battle. It was clearly his birthday yesterday. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I'm sorry. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? It's such a sad story, I mourn for you in silence. Heavenly Blade King. Sadness and obedience. Qianshou watched this scene with great disappointment in his heart. But still speaking in the chat group. Princess Qianshou. As long as I can revive the rope tree, I can give anything, please. Ding. Group member Princess Qianshou, post a mission to resurrect the rope tree. Task reward. 8 points plus dot. Friendly reminder. This task is extremely difficult. The chat group encourages members to help each other and all members can accept tasks if the task is completed. Additional point rewards can be obtained based on the task rating. Indeed, he is a master of martial arts. Carl looked at the tasks posted in the chat group and felt clear in his heart. He remembers that Qianshou seemed to have a younger brother. But when she was young, she had already died in battle. It seems that he has just graduated from ninja school at the age of 12 or 13. At this time, Qianshou was still a young girl and did not even receive the title of Sanren. It turned out to be this time. As for resurrecting others, the Silver Superman template obtained by Carl has this ability. When Carl was thinking, the chat group members were also very surprised. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Heavenly Blade King. Mission. Surprisingly, there is still this feature. The Great Wall Guard. First time seeing a mission. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? The difficulty is extremely high. Can we really achieve resurrection or something? The Great Wall Guard. I don't know, but as a soldier, I can't. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I am just an ordinary person, and the difficulty was extremely high, so I can only wait and see. Another resurrection. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Sorry, at Princess Qianshou. Princess Qianshou. It's okay, it's okay. I didn't expect to release a mission either. After all, resurrection or something like that is a bit unbelievable. Princess Qianshou. Now that the mission has been released, I can only hold on to the idea of giving it a try. If it really doesn't work, then there's nothing we can do. Heavenly Blade King. I can't do it either, sorry. Upon seeing the information in the chat group, Qianshou's hope that had originally risen in his heart was instantly shattered. Sure enough, is resurrection or something really a bit exaggerated? Princess Qianshou. It's okay, I'm just trying. At this moment, the previously quiet member actually spoke. God of the world. Speaking of which, I also really want to go to other worlds and take on a mission. God of the world. Do you need my help at Princess Qianshou? Princess Qianshou. Of course, I hope the rope tree can be resurrected. If possible, please help me. The God of the world. Of course, this small matter is not a problem. Group members, the gods of the human world, accept the task of revival rope tree. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Asterisk. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Since joining the group, is a newcomer who doesn't speak much, actually a big shot. Dare to take on the mission of resurrection. Heavenly Blade King. Shocked, this is just a small matter of resurrecting people. What's a big deal then? Commander of the Great Wall Guard. This kind of thing is really unbelievable. Ding. The group members are the gods of the human world, completing the task entrusted by Princess Qianshou. Task evaluation is SSS level, with an additional reward of 100,000 points. What? What situation is this? Is the task completed now? It's fake. It's only been a few seconds since this person accepted the task. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? What kind of ghost? Has the task been completed? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Isn't it extremely difficult? Isn't it resurrection? This commander of the Great Wall Guard. Amazing Heavenly Blade King. I didn't expect anyone to actually achieve resurrection originally. The group members were still surprised by the speed at which the human god completed the task. But seeing the points reward, everyone became sour. Heavenly Blade King. Oh my goodness, how could you give so many points? Tianjian Wang. This is 100,000 points, I only have a few dozen points now. Chapter 4. Kiba Sanren and Completing Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time goes back not long ago. Carl saw Gang's request in the chat group and accepted the task. Ding. You have accepted the task of the group member Princess Qianshou. Can be teleported to the mission world at any time. Do you want to teleport now? Carl nodded and said, start teleporting. Ding. Start teleportation. An inexplicable force enveloped Carl. Then he saw the world in front of him become hazy. Ding. The teleportation has ended and we have reached the mission world. Quickly, a prompt sound came. At this moment, he appeared in a wooden room. The house has a neon Chinese style and belongs to the type of house where one can easily identify their place of belonging at a glance. Not far from Carl, there is a beautiful shadow. Exquisite in appearance and proud in figure, they are the backbone of the Hokage world. Qianshou naturally also saw Carl not far away. This suddenly appearing black-haired man is not only handsome, but also possesses a mysterious temperament. But after all, Tsunade is a ninja. She looked wary and asked cautiously, who are you? On the side, Orochimaru and Zillai also saw the sudden appearance of a figure with a nervous expression. As ninjas, they were unknowingly approached by someone. What a dereliction of duty this is. If the other party is an enemy, then they are likely dead. The two are ready for battle. Carl glanced at Orochimaru and Jiraiya, but did not pay attention. He turned his head and said to Qianshou, chat groups are the gods of the world. Is it you? Upon hearing the words, Qianshou's expression relaxed a lot. At this point, she also understood. The handsome man in front of him is the human god who wants to help him in the group. It's actually true. The members in the chat group really come from other worlds. Qianshou was a bit excited. After all, Carl's casual attire is just too different from theirs. Can this person really resurrect the rope tree? Qianshou is somewhat uncertain. However, she still greeted kindly, my name is Qianshou, thank you very much for coming to help. Carl nodded and said, you're welcome, my name is Carl. Hello. At this moment, a roar came. Who are you, this guy? Why did it appear in our village? Turning his head, Zillai was also looking at Carl with a displeased expression on his face. Many people know his admiration for Qianshou. At this moment, a person suddenly appeared who seemed very familiar with Tsunade. Of course it won't be comfortable since I came. And this person appeared in the village without any warning. Bang! Before Qianshou could explain, Jiraiya's body turned into a pitch-black shadow. Crashed the wooden wall and flew backwards. Zillai. Orochimaru looked along the wooden wall next to him, but Zillai also disappeared from sight. As far as my eyes could see, all the rooms were hit with a big hole. Seeing this scene, he was trembling slightly all over. Zillai was unexpectedly killed by this person in a flash. This power, this speed. Orochimaru knew that if he were to take action against himself, he would also have no ability to resist at all. Carl said calmly, don't worry, he won't die yet. I have a sense of propriety. He looked at Qianshou and said, your mission is to resurrect your brother. Qianshou withdrew his gaze from searching for Zillai and nodded, saying, yes. Since the other party said that Zillai is okay, shouldn't it be okay? Although I care about Zillai, reviving the rope tree is the most important thing now. Carl, do you want to do anything to prepare, such as talismans and offerings? I can prepare anything. Charms, tribute. Carl glanced at Qianshou in surprise. Do you think I'm going to cast a spell? I don't need these things, just wait a moment. Speaking, Carl clenched his fists and rose up into the sky. The sonic boom formed around him, but fortunately he had a biological stance to protect his clothes, otherwise he would end up in an awkward situation of exploding clothes. After breaking through the speed of sound, Carl is still accelerating. After obtaining the Silver Superman template, he knows that his speed can surpass the speed of light. And Carl can travel through time, go back to the past, and change time. And can ignore the law of causality. These are all the abilities of Silver Superman. It is precisely because of this that he took on the task. The surrounding scenery is flashing rapidly. Gradually, many things have changed. The sun started to set towards the east. Carl knows that he has successfully traveled through time. I don't know the exact time of the rope tree's death, so during the flight, his super hearing and supervision were constantly observing the entire Earth. Finally, he saw a boy with light brown short hair. Rope tree. At this moment, Orochimaru was not far from the rope tree. He looked at the rope tree running in front of the other ninjas with a relieved expression on his face. Supervision allowed Carl to see traps full of detonating symbols in front of the rope tree. That's it now. He didn't hesitate and flew to the rope tree to stop it. The rope tree had not yet figured out what was going on, but felt a blur in front of him as he was being dragged by someone's arm and hung in the air. Ding! The group members are the gods of the human world, completing the task entrusted by Princess Qianshou and earning 8 points. Task evaluation is SSS level, with an additional reward of 100,000 points. At this moment, Carl heard a beep. After a brief moment of unconsciousness, the rope tree instinctively pulled out Kowu and stabbed Carl. Carl gently swung the rope tree and hit Orochimaru's body. You, who are you? Orochimaru caught the rope tree and stared at the floating figures in the air with a guarded expression. The person in front of him is too fast to see the other person's figure at all. Is this the person of Rain hidden? If that's the case, these people, all have to be accountable here. What should we do? After a brief thought, Orochimaru threw the rope tree towards the back, while he himself rushed towards Carl. Rope tree, go seek support. At the very least, the rope tree cannot die here. TSK TSK TSK. Carl watched this scene with a slight smile on his lips. This big snake pill is somewhat different from my impression. However, different things are different, and he doesn't have the habit of being beaten for no reason when others do it. The same goes for Zillai and Orochimaru. The figure flying in the air quickly pulled up and dodged the attack of Orochimaru. Then, he kicked Orochimaru. Orochimaru was like a speeding train, instantly crashing onto the ground. Carl looked at the large snake pill embedded in the ground and said calmly, "You don't have to panic either. I was entrusted by Qianshou to save her brother. There's a trap ahead." Speaking, Carl ignored the crowd present and disappeared with a flash of his figure. He came to this world to save people, there is no need to befriend others. Carl, who has supervision, easily found the master of this time. At this moment, Tsunade was healing a ninja. Carl flew over to Qianshou and glanced at her. "I've already saved your brother. So, I'll leave." Although due to time travel, the master of this time does not recognize herself, nor does she know that she herself posted tasks in the chat group. Just like the Justice League edited by a certain director. Flash surpasses the speed of light, returns to the past, and changes the future of Blue Star's destruction. But in the changed future, the destruction of the Blue Star did not happen. So what others don't know is that Flash is a hero who saved the world. Only he knows it himself. The situation Carl is facing now is similar to that of the Flash. Chapter 5. The Melancholy Gang Hand and the Shocked Members. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But after all, the task was released by Qianshou, and when he came to the other party's world, Carl had to tell them before leaving. After speaking, Carl was ready to leave. However, Qianshou put down the injured person in front of him and ran to Carl. She bowed deeply and said, "Carl, thank you for saving the rope tree." "What?" Carl was taken aback and looked at Tsunade with some surprise. In theory, at this time, Qianshou should not know himself. Even Qianshou at this time may not have joined the chat group. After all, the other party joined with themselves. But now, how does Qianshou know? He looked at Qianshou and asked, "Do you recognize me?" "Of course, Carl is a member of the chat group and saved my brother," said Qianshou gratefully. "How could you remember these things?" "Ah." Carl's words actually stunned Qianshou. "Isn't this the task I posted in the chat group, and then you came here?" Carl looked at Qianshou for a while, then suddenly smiled and said, It's the same. Although under normal circumstances, crossing time and changing the past. Only the person who traveled through time remembers what happened before. But now, Tsunade remembers. Carl doesn't know what the situation is either. Probably due to the chat group. That's the only explanation left. At this moment, Qianshou looked at Carl excitedly and said, "I didn't expect that you could really resurrect the rope tree, Carl. And the method used is not a talisman ritual at all, but a time-traveling method." This situation was beyond her imagination. Time can still travel, can you believe it? Anyway, Qianshou dare not. In her eyes, Carl had just arrived in this world. Then he punched Zelaya. Then, it flew away. The next moment, for some unknown reason, Gungate arrived here. "Take a look around yourself, isn't this exactly where you were a few hours ago?" Looking at the time again, it was indeed a few hours ago. At this moment, she saw a prompt in the chat group for Carl to complete the task. That is to say, Carl not only saved the rope tree, but also traveled through time. Even when traveling through time, I brought her along. What a powerful existence this is. Actually, Qianshou didn't know that Carl didn't take her through time. But no matter what, it was indeed Carl who traveled through time and saved the rope tree. Calm down, Carl smiled nonchalantly as he faced the excited Qianshou. Although it was his first time traveling through time and space, he himself was also a bit excited. But not to the extent of Qianshou. At this moment, the Konoha ninjas around the Tsunade residence also noticed the situation here. The ninja who was treated by Tsunade just now went out and told others about this matter. At this moment, many ninjas are looking at Carl with caution. After all, his attire is very strange. At first glance, it is not a ninja of Konoha. Now is a time of war, so they naturally have to be careful and cautious. "Qianshou, who is this?" Zilai slowly approached the vicinity of Gungate and asked in a low voice. Qianshou glanced at Zelaya and then at Carl. "This Carl is my friend," she said with a peaceful smile on her face. "He is a very reliable person, not an enemy, rest assured." That's right." Carl nodded when he saw Gungshou's smile. "This time I came to the world of Hokage, it was not in vain. Not only did I meet attractive girls, but I also completed tasks in the chat group." On the side, Zilai also saw Qianshou and Carl smiling at each other, feeling very uncomfortable in his heart. However, no matter how sour his heart was and how resolute his attitude was, Qianshou did not do anything. Carl looked at Qianshou and said, "I've finished the task, I'll leave first." Unexpectedly, Qianshou pulled down his arm and said, "It's not urgent. You saved my rope tree, I haven't thanked you properly yet. Let's have a meal before leaving." Carl shook his head and politely declined, "No, I just had it a while ago." Ah. Qianshou felt a bit disappointed and didn't expect Carl to leave so soon. "So. Remember to protect your brother," Carl said. Subsequently, the figure disappeared instantly. In the field, only a faint voice remained, "Goodbye next time." See you next time. Qianshou looked at the spot where Carl had stood before and murmured to himself. For Carl, who is handsome and powerful, Gungata naturally feels grateful. After all, he saved the rope tree. Even in Qianshou's heart, he has a good impression of Carl. She naturally felt very reluctant when the other party left so quickly. But there's no other way. I can only look forward to the next meeting. Marvel World. Carl's figure suddenly appeared in the universe. Well, I've been active for a while, let's go rest well now. Looking at the sun in front of him, Carl's figure flashed and he returned home. While he was taking a shower, he felt a sensation and joined the chat group. Just entered the group chat and discovered new news about 99+. At first glance, all the group members were surprised by the time it took to complete the task. The latest news is from Qianshou. Princess Qianshou. Carl, have you returned to your own world? Princess Qianshou. I will always remember your kindness. If you have anything in the future, you can come to me */Omega*. At the god of the human world, what should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Anything. Wow, this is really amazing. Heavenly Blade King. Shock.jpg Commander of the Great Wall Guard. What are you thinking? Am I the only one curious about how the gods of the human world complete their tasks? Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Also, Carl. Is this the name of the god of the human world? At the god of the human world, Heavenly Blade King. Curiosity +1. What to do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Curiosity +2. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I also want to know how Carl completed the resurrection mission at Princess Qianshou, at God of the World Princess Qianshou. It seems that Mr. Carl is not around, so let me tell you. It's like this. Qianshou explained the previous incident once. Although Qianshou was surprised by the fact that Jilai was also knocked away, others did not understand Jilai either. I didn't think there was anything wrong. But when Qianshou talked about Carl crossing time, saving his younger brother, and taking her through time together, chatting with the crowd, he exploded. Crazy brushing 666. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. It's really fake. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Even if you resurrect people, are you still using the method of time travel? Are you sure you didn't lie to me? Heavenly Blade King. This is indeed somewhat unbelievable. Even angels cannot achieve this level. Princess Qianshou. I'm also surprised, but these are all true. I saw it with my own eyes. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Well, she is truly a chat group that spans different worlds, and there are indeed many big shots. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Alright, after all, the mission has already been completed. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Although it may seem unbelievable, it should be true. In the chat group, there is finally a powerful leader. Chapter 6. Identity of Group Members and Heartbreaking People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the commander of the Great Wall Guard, I naturally possess high martial arts skills and a calm demeanor. Essentially, he has a completely different life from those ordinary people. Even when Carl completed the resurrection mission before, the others immediately changed their names to Big Boss. But he didn't. Now, after listening to what Qianshou said, Carl surprisingly resurrected people in this incredible way. He immediately changed his tune. Not changing is not enough, this big shot really can't afford to provoke. After all, he cannot resurrect others. It is even more impossible to travel through time. Carl felt someone at him and entered the chat group. A lot of information was refreshed in the group. Seeing that Qianshou was concerned about himself, he politely replied. The god of the world. It has arrived, do not recite. Princess Qianshou. Since Mr. Carl has arrived, I can rest assured. Heavenly Blade King. The boss has appeared. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Carl, your points have already reached 100,000, isn't it possible to buy many powerful things? God of the world. Most of the things in the store are useless. God of the world. Some interesting things that cannot be bought for 100,000 yuan. Go to the store to buy something. Buying things like domineering, ninjutsu, and Gundam is really useless. If you really encounter an enemy, just give it a few punches to solve it. If Carl is unable to solve the enemy now, even if he buys something from the store, he cannot defeat it. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Princess Qianshou. Truly worthy of the title of Lord Carl, amazing. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? 666, Tianjin King. If I had 100,000 points, I would definitely go buy a kaleidoscope to write Will Eyes. Commander of the Great Wall Guard. I actually think the dominance of the pirate world is very good. If I have enough points, I want to buy an armed color of dominance. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? If I have points, I definitely need to exchange money. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Only 100,000 points, how much can I exchange for? 1 point is 10,000 yuan, 100,000 points. What should I do if my younger sister is suffering from a secondary illness? It seems like I can't spend all that money. It's better to change a part and then buy a steel battle suit. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? It's quite interesting to think about it. In an ordinary world, suddenly a steel battle suit flies out. What should I do if my younger sister is suffering from a secondary illness? What would be the expression on her face when she sees a steel battle suit, especially when she sees me inside? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I'm really looking forward to it, God of the world. Wake up quickly. I haven't fallen asleep yet, why did I dream? God of the world. Single-digit points will be given after 1 day of check.in. If you want 100000, don't you have to sign in for over 10,000 days? What should I do if my younger sister is suffering from a secondary illness? It's really frustrating, big shot. Heavenly Blade King. Uncomfortable. JPG Commander of the Great Wall Guard. Carl is right. It's really difficult to earn 100,000 points just by checking in. For a moment, no one in the chat group spoke anymore. Obviously, the group members also know that it is indeed as Carl said. This is very uncomfortable. At the last moment, I was still longing for what I wanted to buy with points. At the next moment, I will be stabbed in the heart. It was a while before someone spoke. Princess Qianshou. So. May I ask who is Lu Hua? What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? She is my younger sister, a girl with a secondary illness. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? She always thinks there are strange things like demon kings and gods in the world. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? I'm sorry, Carl. I didn't say anything about you, I just said about our world at the god of the human world, although I don't know if Carl is a deity. But the other person's name in the group is called the god of the world. According to Qianshou, Carl's actions are no different from those of real gods, right? At the very least, for an ordinary person like her, that's the case. To avoid misunderstandings, she still explained. Carl saw the information about his sister's secondary illness and instantly confirmed her identity. Lu Hua is not the name of the female protagonist in The Second Illness Also Wants to Fall in Love. So, this group member is the sister of the female protagonist, the bird has been swimming in 10 flowers. Well, she is a pretty imperial sister. It seems like the head chef of a high-end restaurant, with excellent cooking skills. God of the world. I know, calm and composed. Princess Qianshou. Oh, no wonder you call that name at What Should I Do If My Younger Sister Has a Secondary Illness. Princess Qianshou. What a coincidence, I also have a younger brother. He is called Rope Tree and is a very brave boy. What should I do if my younger sister has a secondary illness? Well, that's really good. My sister. For a moment, Qianshou and Shihua started chatting enthusiastically. Later, Kaisha also joined in. Carl, who was peeping through the screen, realized that Caesar at this moment was not the angel king he remembered, but rather a girl under 20 years old. I'm not as old as a bird swimming 10 flowers. No wonder. Carl had previously felt that there was a difference in personality between this Kaisha and his impression. Turns out the other person is just a little girl now. 3 girls, the more they chat, the happier they become. Finally, they even told each other their names, and their sisters cried out. Although speaking, there is nothing I want to buy. But Carl still entered the chat group store and took a glance. After all, having 100,000 points in hand is not very useful to keep. Upon closer inspection, Carl was somewhat speechless. There are many products that he can afford now, but most of them are not very useful. Kaleidoscope writing will I, advanced and domineering. After all, even if you buy the divine light stick and become a digga, your combat power does not increase. And even with 100,000 points, I can't buy the divine light stick. After thinking about it, Carl spent several hundred points and bought a Superman battle suit. Well, that's right, it's Superman's classic red and blue battle suit. To be honest, Carl himself doesn't really like this color. But this is the only shop in the chat group. As for the remaining points, we have to keep them. There are still many items that he is interested in the chat group store. For example, infinite gems, phoenix power, cosmic heart, but the long string of zeros at the end makes people feel a bit headache. The chat group became lively for a while, then gradually quieted down. After all, time is different in every world. Some worlds are day, some are night. Take Carl himself as an example. It was early morning when he obtained the silver Superman template in his own world. When it arrived at the world of Hokage, it was evening. So the time in each world is not the same. Everyone in the group has their own business. Carl also continued to take a shower. After taking a shower and drinking a glass of wine, I went to bed to rest. Hokage world. In a spacious house. Qianshou, Zelaya, Ashimaru, and Qianshou were sitting among them. Orochimaru explained the previous incident. That place is indeed a trap. According to the state at that time, if the rope tree rushes in, it may be life-threatening. Zilai also had a look of fear and said, "It's really close." Fortunately, he took action to save the rope tree. At this moment, the rope tree finally realized. That handsome man who suddenly appeared actually saved his life. At this moment, Qianshou felt very ashamed. He was originally a sunny and straightforward young man. Before Carl caught him, Rope Tree thought he was an enemy. Unexpectedly, he came to save himself. Chapter 7. Sign-in rewards an innocent Carl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Rope Tree is very ashamed. When Carl caught him before, he also launched an attack on the other party. Well, he's one of my friends. Qianshou nodded. She is the most calm person in the field. After all, Carl was the one she brought in. Even Qianshou knew that Carl was not from this world. And she also knew that without Carl, the rope tree would undoubtedly die. After all, I died because of the rope tree, which is why I asked for help in the chat group. Carl also came for this reason. Indeed, he said he was commissioned by you to rescue the rope tree. Orochimaru looked at Qianshou, somewhat hesitant to speak. After pondering for a moment, he couldn't help but ask, "How did you meet this friend?" Orochimaru and his companions grew up together in Kiba village. The relationship is very good, and it's similar to the relationship between those little strong guys like Kiba. I have never seen someone like Carl in the village. So Orochimaru doesn't know how Gungate got to know each other. After thinking for a moment, Qianshou spoke up and said, Carl happened to meet me outside the village. She couldn't possibly reveal Carl's identity or the chat group. Even if it said, there won't be much benefit. And the other party may not necessarily believe it. So I had to find a random reason. But he is a very reliable friend, don't worry. Upon hearing this, Orochimaru said inexplicably, I had a brief encounter with him. No, it's more like I was unilaterally crushed than a confrontation. At that time, I didn't even see his movements clearly and was directly hit to the ground. If he wants to kill me, I'm afraid I'm already dead. Don't say it's me. Speaking of this, Orochimaru's face showed a deep expression of fear. I think even Teacher Ape Flying may not be a match for that person, he said. In fact, he felt that Carl's power was completely superior to his own teacher. After all, he didn't react at all and was knocked down by Carl. Even his teacher, Monkey Flying and Sun Slaying, cannot achieve this level. However, such words are naturally difficult to say. So what Orochimaru said is quite tactful. Orochimaru, what are you talking nonsense about? Upon hearing this, Zilai scolded with great dissatisfaction. On the side, the rope tree was also somewhat unbelievable. Orochimaru saw the situation, but did not explain anything. He believes in his own judgment. On the side, Qianshou nodded in agreement and said, his strength is indeed above that of Teacher Ape Flying. I don't believe it. Zilai also saw the situation, but still didn't believe it. Qianshou looked a bit strange from Zilai. I thought to myself, even if I don't believe it, there's nothing I can do. Karjin was in the original future, but he punched you. She didn't say much, because she knew she wouldn't believe anything she said. After chatting for a while, Zilai also left with Orochimaru. The rope tree lowered its head and whispered to Tsunade, is the person who saved me called Carl? Well, that's right. Where is brother Carl now? I went a long way, what happened? Then. When Mai arrives, make sure to tell me, I haven't thanked him yet. Upon hearing the words, Qianshou smiled and said, okay. The next day Carl was already sober early on. At this moment, he only felt a joyful mood, with an indescribable sense of pleasure all over his body. It's as if those 20 years ago were bound by some invisible shackles. Now finally breaking free from constraints. Ding! The host can sign in today. Do you want to sign in? What a long-lost prompt sound. Before Carl, a 25-year check.in period was set. As long as you are here, you can automatically sign in. I haven't heard the system prompt sound for a long time. Now that I suddenly hear this, I still feel a bit uncomfortable. He nodded and said, sign in. Ding. Host check.in successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Superman battle suit, black. As the system beeped, a black piece of clothing appeared in front of Carl. He immediately reached out and caught the clothes. Open and take a look. A huge cape with an S logo on the chest. It is the battle uniform worn by Superman in the movie. However, the one in his hand is black. Carl had a strange expression on his face. He walked to the cloakroom and took out a red and blue battle suit. This is what he bought in the chat group store early this morning. Compare the two battle clothes. Well, it's the same except for the color. Hee hee. Isn't this a waste of points? Although a few hundred points is not much, there is an inexplicable feeling of waste. Okay, it's not really a waste. After all, the colors are different, although Carl himself prefers black battle clothes. But when I can't guarantee it, I just want to wear a blue one. Putting two battle clothes back in the closet, Carl made a simple breakfast. After washing up, Carl sat quietly in a chair to rest. At this moment, his phone rang. Glancing at it, the person in the remarks is Skye. Hello. What's wrong? Didn't you say we went shopping today? When will we go? Carl was taken aback by the words, but quickly realized, now. Then come to my house to pick me up. Okay. The person who called Carl is named Skye. That's the mixed-race beauty and shockwave woman in S.H.I.E.L.D. However, Skye has not yet joined the Divine Shield Bureau. There are no superpowers either. Instead, she became one of Carl's girlfriends. Although Carl could have been considered an ordinary person before today. But he is also a wealthy and handsome person. Of course there is no shortage of girlfriends, and not just one. A girlfriend in high school, a girlfriend in college, and an Asian actor. Carl estimated that it wasn't too much, actually. Well, he thinks he's quite innocent. Didn't you see why Tony Stark often makes headlines? After changing into casual wear, Carl slightly tidied up his hairstyle. Then, with a flash of his figure, Carl disappeared instantly. The next moment, Carl appeared in a small room. This room is a bit cramped compared to his room. But Carl doesn't care. He walked skillfully in the room. When I walked to the bathroom door, I finally saw a beautiful figure putting on makeup in front of the mirror. Carl greeted with a smile and said, "Hi, Skye." Carl. Skye, who was putting on makeup, was taken aback and looked at Carl in front of the door in disbelief. You. Why did you arrive so quickly? When calling Carl, Skye was already preparing. I didn't expect the other party to come so quickly. You should know that her home is not very close to Carl's house. Carl walked into the bathroom and said with a smile, I'll tell you later. But now, I feel like it's still a bit early, we should go and sleep a little longer, he said as he approached Skye and gently stroked his hair. Seeing Carl's movements, Skye immediately knew what the other person wanted to do. She looked at the lipstick in her hand and whispered, "But I just put on my makeup. Isn't that just right?" Carl gave Skye a gentle kiss. Pick up the other person and walk towards the bedroom. Chapter 8. Skye begs for mercy and Carl loses money. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Noon. Carl took a bottle of red wine and a glass from the refrigerator. After pouring a glass of wine, I savored it comfortably. At this moment, Skye was lying lazily on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket. Carl smiled and asked, "Why don't you come and live with me? Anyway, I have a lot of properties and the location is also large enough." Skye, who was resting, shook his head and refused, "No, I'm not without a place to live myself." Okay. Carl shrugged his shoulders and became accustomed to it. This is not the first time he has invited Skye. But the other party just won't stay at his house. After thinking for a moment, Carl joked, "If you don't go, then don't go. But today we need to buy a sturdy bed. Although it's not a big deal if the bed collapses, it still delays sleeping, isn't it?" Upon hearing this, Skye immediately grabbed the pillow from under his body and slammed it into Carl. "It's not because of you, you bastard." With a hint of resentment in her words, "What's going on with you today? You're so excited. It's already noon, and it even collapsed my bed." You know, when she called Carl this morning, it was just 7 or 8 o'clock. Skye also knows that Ka is very powerful. After all, Carl has been practicing fighting from childhood to adulthood. She was also prepared to spend over an hour. I didn't expect the other party to be so powerful today. Carl smiled nonchalantly, "What's this? As long as I think, it doesn't matter until tomorrow. Blow it off, if you have the ability, come on. Is that right?" Carl smiled and walked towards Skye. And Skye noticed Carl's change and was very shocked. "Isn't it true? Are you human?" Carl raised his eyebrows and said, "Otherwise." Skye buried his head under the blanket and begged for mercy. "I was wrong, I was just joking. I don't have strength all over now, you're amazing. You won. Carl smiled at the words and patted Skye. Then pick up the wine glass on the coffee table, feeling happy. Actually, what he said was the truth. If it weren't for realizing that Skye was too tired, Carl could still continue. After all, he has now obtained the Silver Superman template, which is completely different from before. Well, I just didn't expect to collapse the bed in a few hours. It can only be said that Skye's room is not very good. I don't know if it's out of self-esteem or something, but Skye didn't stay with Carl's house. Instead, they choose to live in their rented cabin. However, she doesn't know. Carl has already contacted the landlord for a price 15% higher than the market price. I bought this room. It has to be said that the housing prices here are indeed cheap. Even if it is 15% higher than the market price, it is much lower than Carl's expected price. Now it seems that cheap goods are not good. The bed has collapsed. The quality is really not good, we should go to that cellar and discuss it. Now, I have to pay for Skye's bed. What an unscrupulous businessman. Skye rested for a while before slowly getting up to wash up. Carl has already finished drinking a bottle of red wine and washing up. It was only after 2 o'clock that Skye finished tidying up. Due to the collapse of the bed, they are going out to buy a bed. Therefore, some personal belongings at home need to be tidied up. Of course, we need to eat first. The two of them first went to a high-end restaurant for dinner, and then went directly to the nearby shopping mall. This time, Carl spent $2,000 directly to buy a bed. Speaking of which, he still feels a bit regretful. Why isn't there anything more expensive in this mall? He doesn't believe it. Can the bed collapse again this time? Because Skye had to sleep at home at night, they brought the delivery personnel directly to Skye's home. The delivery personnel are certainly very enthusiastic. Although this room is not big, it doesn't look very good. But what Carl bought, after all, was a bed worth over $2,000. It's usually difficult to sell one in a month. At first glance, these two are wealthy and influential bigwigs. Nature should be treated well. After delivering the bed, it's already past 5 o'clock. Skye sat on the brand new bed and said, "What are we doing now? Why don't we go play at your bar? There are fewer people at the bar now, so it's boring to go there." "That's right, so what do we do? First try the quality of this bed, then go eat." Upon hearing this, Skye was slightly surprised and said, "Try the quality of the bed. Isn't this bed quite good?" Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Kakar. He chuckled softly and said, "The quality of the bed is hard to tell. We need to give it a try ourselves." After speaking, Carl also got into bed. 3 hours later. Carl still went to the refrigerator and took a bottle of wine and a glass. He doesn't smoke, but he quite enjoys drinking. Most of the wine in Skye's house was brought by Carl from the bar. The purpose is, of course. Skye lay in bed, quietly looking at Carl. "Really, why do you feel like you've changed someone today?" Carl frowned and said, "Really? Because I collapsed the bed." "That's not it." "I can't say it either, it seems like it hasn't changed again," Skye said to himself after giving him a glance. "I just feel that my demeanor has changed a lot." "Probably." Carl smiled without comment. Before, he knew that the world he was in was Marvel world, so he naturally felt a bit stressed. Although he is very wealthy. In this world, the role of money is not very significant. After all, there are too many powerful beings. I won't say anything about annihilating the boss. Jean is not that good, and Carl hasn't figured out how to deal with him. But now, with the Silver Superman template, Carl has the power to protect himself. The mentality naturally cannot be the same as before. At the very least, the person who wants to forcefully buy and sell his bar, Carl wants to give him a beating. Although Carl wanted to do it before, he estimated that he probably couldn't beat the opponent before. Now. Hee. But that's not important. Go hammer the opponent again when you have time. After all, 3 days later, the other party said they wanted to personally come to their door. Now, naturally it's more important to be with the girl. Skye rested for a while and then washed up again. The two of them set off for Carl's bar. Carl's bar is called Smith's Bar. This is the name given by the old man. Carl didn't cash out of the bar partly because he likes to drink and wants to find a place to go. On the other hand, it also has a commemorative meaning. One of the bars is located in Queens, not far from his home. The other one is located in Manhattan. To be honest, Gene will spend $1 million to buy his bar in Queens, and the price is quite reasonable. Smith Bar in Queens, although it has a large venue and many precious wines. In fact, selling everything together in a bundle is not worth $1 million. It can be said that the price given by Gene is very good. But if the price is good, buying and selling forcefully is another matter. After all, Carl has a net worth of billions, would he be short of money for a bar? Chapter 9. Evil guests visiting and seeking death on their own. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Queens, Smith Bar. This is one of the most luxurious bars in the entire New York City. Not only do many young people like this place. Many elite individuals also come here for a few drinks. The bar's performance is very good, often with many people entering before dark. Many salespeople feel that if it weren't for the boss's unwillingness to open branches, Smith's Bar would have spread throughout the United States. And the foot traffic of this hotel is also one of the reasons why Gene is interested in it. At this moment, a scattered platform in a corner of the bar. There are over 10 people sitting among 3 scattered platforms here. They were all dressed in black suits and sunglasses, and at first glance, they were difficult to deal with. Among them was a bald man wearing a leather jacket. This man is very strange, with a target in the middle of his forehead. He is the supervillain under Kim's command, Lester. That is the target eye. He has a natural throwing ability and is very precise in throwing any object. The target eye can even use toothpicks and paper airplanes to kill people. In addition, he is also a martial artist, weapon master, and marksman. Simply put, its positioning is similar to the eagle eye in the Avengers. His experience is quite extensive. I have worked as a mercenary, a professional baseball player, and also a killer. Now, he is working for the Underground Emperor of New York City. Today, Target Eye brought people to the bar and naturally received orders from Gene He. Guide the subordinates to familiarize themselves with their territory in advance. After all, this bar. In 2 days, it will be something golden. He never thought that Carl would refuse his conditions. After all, that condition is really good. Even the Target Eye and his subordinates didn't think Carl would refuse. However, Target Eye found this task very boring. He was a killer before, and even received a mission to assassinate Gene Bing. It's just because the conditions given by Gene He are good enough, that's why he works for Gene He. The task of familiarizing oneself with the territory in advance today is really uninteresting. Who wants Gene to give more money? Even if he doesn't want to, he can only do it. It's extremely boring. Just find someone else to do it casually. Target Eye picked up his glass and walked towards the dance floor. Let's find some fun. So he searched everywhere, looking for his crush. After searching for a while, I finally found a beautiful woman. Without hesitation, the Target Eye went straight to chat up. However, the other party has a male partner. That tall blonde man is very domineering. He consciously stands one head above the Target Eye, of course he won't suffer any losses. And in front of the woman you admire, you should always show off your masculinity. The blonde man pushed his Target Eye away and said, "Fuck. You monster with a birthmark on your head, don't you have eyes? William, you did a great job." The female companion beside her cheered. The man named William smiled proudly. I thought to myself that there might be a play tonight. However, at this moment, he didn't notice, but the target eye pushed away by him showed a ferocious smile. Brother, you have a lot of strength. The target eye pulled out a dagger from his waist and suddenly threw it out. The dagger pierced William's hand with great precision. William felt a sharp pain coming from his hand. Unexpectedly, there was a sharp blade on my palm. His palm is constantly oozing blood at this moment. Ah. William tightly grasped his palm, wanting to pull out the sharp blade. However, the pain was so intense that he dared not touch it at all. William's girlfriend, along with several young people nearby, also noticed the anomaly here. Instantly panicked. However, at this point, William's girlfriend only felt a flash in front of her. The next moment, William and the strange bald figure disappeared in an instant. Smith Bar, located on a street corner in the distance. 4 figures suddenly appeared in the originally empty and dark alley. William and Target Eye looked bewildered at the moment, looking at the surrounding environment in great surprise. They have no idea what happened. Skye is no exception. At this moment, Carl spoke calmly. He looked at William and said, "Your palm is injured. There is a hospital a few hundred meters south." Ah. Oh. William subconsciously nodded in agreement. Immediately, he glanced at his palm. But it was discovered that the sharp blade that should have been inserted into his hand disappeared for some reason. Of course that's a good thing, but he needs to see a doctor as soon as possible. And, stay away from that bald lunatic. William looked at the target in great fear for a moment, then ran straight out of the alley. "Thank you, sir and madam." At this moment, the sound of gratitude came from the edge of the alley. It seemed that he felt that he might have been saved by a stranger who suddenly appeared. "Okay, then next, it's you." Carl was playing with a dagger stained with blood in his hand. He looked calmly at the target eye in front of him. Just now, Carl entered his own bar. He heard screams of agony. After using supervision, the 2 people who had an accident were immediately discovered. To avoid causing chaos, he brought these 2 people out. Well, there's also Skye. After all, it's my own bar. If something like this happens, it will definitely affect other customers. Moreover, the strange bald man in front of me seems somewhat familiar. Think about it carefully, isn't it just Jin's subordinates? What is this guy doing at his own bar? Carl, what's going on? At this moment, Skye realized and asked Carl in disbelief. She had no idea what had happened, just her eyes flickered and she came here. Carl smiled and said, "Well, probably, I suddenly awakened my superpowers. Do you know Superman in the manga? My abilities are probably similar to him. The Marvel world he is in has Superman comics and movies. Although unbelievable, it is indeed so. Is it really fake? Are you joking?" Skye looked at Carl incredulously. "Are you joking? Haven't you experienced it before? After all, the bed has collapsed." Ah. Upon hearing this, Skye was momentarily stunned, and then his face turned red. Obviously, she understood what Carl meant by experiencing. Swish. At this moment, 2 black shadows flew towards Carl and Skye. Carl grabbed those 2 things casually. He looked at the target with a cold expression and said, "Do you dare to attack us? Do you want to die?" The target was surprised to see Carl catch his dart. He has killed many people with a dart. Ordinary people like Carl should not be able to avoid it. Carl Smith. "You're just a wealthy second generation," said Target Eye with a sneer, "dare to talk to me like this, don't you want to live anymore?" It seems that Jean is going to save money on buying a bar. He has information about Carl. Although I don't know how the other party caught the dart. But the Target Eye will definitely not be afraid of such a young person. He reached out and took out 2 darts. At this moment, the Target Eye suddenly felt a pain in their hand. Subconsciously look over. I saw a sharp blade and 2 darts inserted into his hand at some point. This sharp blade is exactly what he threw during his previous attack. The target eye was sweating profusely, trying to hold back without making a sound. He looked at Carl incredulously and said, "You." At this point, Carl had already arrived in front of the other party. I said, "You're looking for death." Carl's eyes shot red light, directly dissolving the right hand of the target eye. Chapter 10. Super Hypnosis and Fearless Target Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Target Eye is a very talented person. It's not an exaggeration to say that his throwing ability is a superpower. After all, even ordinary people cannot be like him. Just use paper airplanes and toothpicks. But even if he has this special ability. Of course, I haven't seen Carl's ability to emit light from his eyes. But now, the target eye can no longer afford to be surprised. But it was a painful scream. Originally, even though he was holding a dagger and 2 darts in his hand, it was very painful. But he still forcibly endured the desire to scream. After all, the target eye can be said to be a man who has experienced countless battles. Mercenaries and assassins are not for nothing. However, this time he couldn't bear it anymore. The entire arm was directly dissolved. How can this be tolerated? Carl stopped his hot gaze attack. I saw him step on the target's mouth and directly block it. He maintained this posture, looking at the target eye against the wall. Carl said calmly, "Be quiet, do you understand?" He didn't just say a word, but also used super hypnosis. This is the ability of Silver Superman to instantly hypnotize the target eye. In an instant, the expression of the target eye changed. He looked at Carl and nodded repeatedly with a very respectful expression. It's like facing one's own master. Carl took his foot away and said, "Tell me, what are you doing at my bar?" At this moment, the target eye took a deep breath for a while. This is how I can barely control myself and not scream. It's really too painful. He trembled and said, "It was Jean who sent me here." Jean Bing. Carl was slightly surprised and then asked, "What were you supposed to do?" He said this bar, 2 days later, this is his. Let me lead my brothers to familiarize myself with the territory in advance. Hee. Carl chuckled softly. Take those people with you and get out of here immediately. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. After speaking, Carl will release the super hypnosis technique. And then he no longer paid attention to the other party. He walked up to Skye. In the next moment, their figures suddenly disappeared. Hoo. The target's eyes leaned against the wall and weakly slid to the ground. He was breathing heavily in the air. Until now, his mind is still confused. I completely didn't understand what had happened. The wealthy second generation who looked down upon him before. Surprisingly, he was able to catch his dart and his eyes could emit a red light. This is too crazy, it's so crazy that he can't even believe it. At this moment, the pain in the right arm continued to spread. The target eye glanced at the dissolved right arm. I have to believe everything. And what happened after the other party dissolved their arm? Why did you just leave? Fuck. It's really unlucky. After a while, the target eye stood up cursing. He silently took out his phone and called the few subordinates in the bar. Let those little brothers leave with me. After all, that's what the person said when they left earlier. If you don't do what the other person says, the target eye is uncertain and you still have a chance to survive. Actually, what the target eye doesn't know is the reason why he was able to survive was entirely due to Skye's reasons. If only Carl himself is here. He didn't have much to say, he just killed the target eye. But at this moment, Skye walked with him. Carl also doesn't want to kill directly in front of Skye. After all, Skye is just an ordinary person now. She is not a special agent of the Divine Shield Bureau, and has not even awakened her superpowers. Ordinary people may not feel comfortable seeing the bloody scene of murder. Simply let the target eye live for an additional period of time. Anyway, Carl will eventually go find Jean and settle the accounts. On the other hand, Carl and Skye returned to their own bar. Carl ordered 2 glasses of wine. Then, beside the bar, I calmly watched the crowd on the dance floor. Skye, on the other hand, has been staring at Carl. Suddenly, Carl turned his head and chuckled lightly. What's wrong? Am I just so good looking? Don't be so stinky. Skye snorted lightly and ignored him. After a while, she couldn't help but ask curiously, do you really have superpowers? Carl joked, superpowers. Of course, you know I'm very wealthy. Skye gave him a displeased look and said, I mean the ability of my eyes to shine just now. Otherwise, you didn't see it with your own eyes just now. Okay. Skye nodded at the words, and indeed so, although unbelievable, she also saw it just now. Carl used his hot gaze to dissolve the arm of the target eye. What superpowers do you have? Many things, such as flying, super speed, superpower, and biological stance. It feels similar to the Superman in the manga. Carl didn't hide anything and gave a rough overview of his abilities. Superman. Isn't that super powerful? Upon hearing this, Skye asked curiously, can you take me flying? After all, humanity's dream of flying has never stopped. Now that there is an opportunity, of course, Skye also wants to experience it. Sure, Carl smiled and drank all the wine in his hand. Then, he gently grabbed Skye's waist. The figures of the two disappeared into the Smith bar. Almost at the same time, the figures of Carl and Skye appeared in the air. Looking down at the constantly receding scenery, Skye was excited and couldn't help but cheer. The two of them arrived at the top of the Empire State Building. This is a famous landmark building, over 400 meters high, overlooking the entire United States. Evaluated as one of the 7 great projects of the modern world. With the evening breeze blowing, Skye felt very happy. Carl was also in a good mood when he saw the other person's appearance. He smiled and said, let's leave first. Why? Just wait and you'll know. As he spoke, Carl grabbed Skye's slender waist. The next moment, they appeared at Carl's house. After taking 2 cups and a bottle of red wine, the two figures reappeared at the top of the Empire State Building. Carl opened the wine, filled it up, and handed Skye a glass. Skye raised his glass with a smile and said, cheers. After drinking, Skye felt slightly tipsy. Surprisingly, he took the initiative to ask for a kiss. Carl kissed her once, and then their figures disappeared again. Carl thinks it's time to go to Skye's house. Take a look at the quality of the newly purchased bed. 3 hours later. Carl looked at the sleeping Skye and went into the bathroom to wash up. Well, the newly bought bed is quite sturdy. You get what you pay for. After washing up, Carl searched for it with his supervision. Quickly, he found the target eye. The target eye is currently at a dock. Around it, there were also dozens of young men wearing black suits, looking very imposing. On the extended sedan not far away, there was even a burly bald man sitting. This person is 2 meters tall, full of muscles, like a little giant. Jean Bing.